What is the difference between a trust, a will, a living trust, and an estate plan? My name is Michael Pevney. I am an estate planning lawyer in California. I create estate plans for families in California. If you have an estate planning question, ask it in the comments. Follow me or subscribe to me for more estate planning information. So we hear a lot of estate planning terms out there. Everybody's heard of a will. A lot of us have heard of a trust. Some of us have heard of a living trust or a living will, and then just sort of this general idea of an estate plan. So in this video, we're going to talk a little bit and define some of those terms, what exactly they mean, and the reason that some of them can be a little bit confusing. So first, what is a trust? So a trust is a legal entity. It's like a contract that you create with yourself or with somebody else that says what you want to happen with your stuff, your property, both while you're alive and then after you pass away. A trust has a couple different flavors. It can be either revocable or irrevocable. A revocable trust means that essentially you can change it whenever you want, and an irrevocable trust means that you can't really change it much unless there are very specific circumstances. And there are also two different flavors, additional different flavors of trusts known as a living trust and a testamentary trust. So a living trust, you create it when you're alive, and a testamentary trust is only created upon your death as a part of your will. Now, in my opinion, and you will find in a lot of different videos that I've created, I think that a trust is more favorable to a will, especially where I practice, for four big different reasons: cost, control, privacy, and then just basic time and hassle. So that's a very, very just cursory overview of what a trust is. Then what's a will? A will is a document that says that where you want your stuff to go when you pass away. You own separate property or even maybe your half of marital property, and you get to say when you pass away where that property goes. Do you want it to go to your kids? Do you want it to go to a charity? Do you want to cut out your kids from an inheritance? And you can also do things like appoint a guardian for children that no longer have any parents, for minor children, of course. And we can also do things like putting in their burial instructions. What do we want to happen to our body once we are gone? So that's what a will does. A will disposes of and distributes our property after we die. One of the drawbacks to a will is that typically it has to go through probate. Probate is the court-controlled, government-supervised, judge-approved asset distribution system when you pass away, usually without a trust in place or trust that isn't properly funded, nothing inside of the trust. So that's a will. So now then, what's the difference between a will and a living will? Now, it sounds like a living will might be something close to a living trust. It is not. A living will is a healthcare document. It actually tells medical professionals what we want to happen to our bodies if we're near death, if we are medically incapacitated. Do we want there to be pain relief? Do we want the plug pulled, so to speak? Do we want to have hospice care? And in some places, it is close to has other names. Sometimes in California, it's part of what's known as an advanced healthcare directive, where you make first these decisions, like in a living will, of, well, do you want your life to be prolonged necessarily or maybe unnecessarily? Do you want your organs donated? And then who do you want making other healthcare decisions for you? We want a primary person, we want an alternate person. So please, I know it sounds confusing, but don't confuse a will with a living will. The word living is a healthcare document. A living will is a healthcare document. And then, so what is an estate plan? A complete estate plan is an entire set of documents, including many of the documents that I've just mentioned, that tells people what you want to happen with your stuff, with your body, with your property, both while you're alive and then also when you pass away. Most estate plans are centered around sort of a central document, and that's usually either a will or a trust. Even if we have a trust setting up, that's what I do for most of my clients. I set up a living trust, a revocable living trust. And even if we do have a trust, we are still going to have a very basic, simple will because we got to make sure that stuff gets inside of the trust while we're alive or when we pass away as a beneficiary. Otherwise, the trust has no power. So we also always include a very simple will. Sometimes it is known as a pour over will. So there's typically either a will or a trust as the main estate planning document, and then we've got to get these documents that are in place while we're alive. So we always want a healthcare document. So in California, that's an advance healthcare directive, which includes a living will, which I spoke about earlier. We also want a financial document called a power of attorney. Financial power of attorney, durable power of attorney, goes by some different names, but it tells us who you want to take over being able to handle your finances, either now out of a matter of convenience or only to take effect when you are medically incapacitated. And a complete estate plan might have a specific document that names guardians for minor children. There might be some burial instructions or final wishes. Do we want to be cremated? Do we want a green burial? It's becoming very popular these days, and that sort of thing. So an estate plan is a complete set of documents, typically that includes a will or a trust, or sometimes both, a living will, an advance healthcare directive, a financial power of attorney, and all of that. Usually, that is, yes, you can do it yourself, but oftentimes a complete estate plan is set up by a qualified estate planning lawyer. So that's just a little bit of a difference of these different terms. A trust, and then we've got revocable, irrevocable, living, testamentary, a will, a living will, an advance healthcare directive, and a power of attorney, of course. So a lot of terms here, a little bit confusing. If you go through some of my other videos, you're going to see some specific videos about most of these specific documents, why they're favorable, what they can do, what they cannot do. But if you have an estate planning question, please ask it in the comments like this video and follow me for more estate planning information on whatever platform you are observing this on. And if you live in California and it's time to set up an estate plan and you have not set up that estate plan yet, you can set up a time to meet for free. If you're serious about setting up that estate plan, you can look for the instructions in the description to this video or go to ocestateplanlawyer.com. I appreciate your time and thanks for your attention.